Hello everyone, welcome to Legacy Ace Academy. Welcome to this video where we are talking about one of the most important nation that is in the news from the Middle East. See, this particular country called Qatar, which is situated in the Persian Gulf, is playing a very crucial role in the Israel and the Palestine conflict. Along with this country is a very important ally of the United States of America, and this country also enjoys a very friendly relationship with the threat as it is considered to as Iran. So this is an important country in the Middle East, and this is in news because India and the Qatar shares a very strategic relationship, and India's energy point of view, Qatar plays a very crucial role. So this is the reason why we are talking about in this video the importance of Qatar for the Middle East and the importance of Qatar also for the India's point of view. Okay, so before we continue, I want you to subscribe the Legacy Ace Academy YouTube channel and also hit the bell icon so that you will not miss out on any update from Legacy IAS. Now, if we talk about the context, why are we even talking about this? If you look at this article, how natural gas is certain or central to the ties between India and the Qatar. This is one article that is printed in the Indian Express section. So this is the reason why. What is the relationship that the India shares with Qatar, and what is the mediating role that the Qatar is actually playing now in between Israel and Palestine, Iran and USA is something that is very crucial to understand from the geopolitical point of view. First, if you look at the map of Qatar, where is it even located? This is Qatar, and if you can see, this is the only land border that the Qatar shares. And this is Saudi Arabia. So Qatar shares land border only with Saudi Arabia. Okay, if you look at this map. And towards this side, this is Persian Gulf. On the other side of the Persian Gulf, you have an important country called as Iran. See, Iran is a Shia majority country which is considered to be the threat for the entire Middle East. So the Sunni majority countries led by the group of Saudi Arabia considers Iran to be a threat in the region. But this country, a tiny gas rich country called Qatar, enjoys a very close relationships with Iran. At the same time, they also have a very close relationship with United States of America, and they have a close relationship with USA for a reason. Okay, the main reason for Doha to have a very close relationship with USA is that Doha has the largest US military base in the entire Middle East, which means the security of Qatar or the security of this capital city Doha is under the control of United States of America. And just imagine, these Doha houses the largest military base of the USA in the entire region. So this is with respect to the geography of the country, that is Qatar. Now, if you look at what is the role that the Qatar is actually playing in the Middle East as of now, if we know that on October 7th is when Israel attacked Hamas, that is the Gaza Strip as it is called as, and the Israel-Palestinian war broke out. So in this war, the hostages which were taken by the Hamas, the Israeli hostages which were captured by the Hamas, Qatar played a very crucial role from October 10th, if you remember. From October 10th, Qatar played a very crucial role in releasing these hostages from Hamas, which means Qatar is a country which is having the relationship or negotiations with Hamas so that the Israeli hostages would be liberated. So the USA's foreign secretary, the spokesperson Anthony Blinken, he congratulated or he applauded the efforts of the Qatari government in releasing the Israeli hostages from Hamas. So this is the extent of relationship that the Qatar enjoys with Hamas and also with USA. So in this entire region of the Middle East, if you're talking about, if at all we want to point out one important strategic country that can mediate between the talks. See, if you talk about Saudi Arabia, you might say that the Saudi Arabia is the leader of the GCC, and Saudi Arabia is the largest economy in the Middle East. So Saudi Arabia is the leader of the entire Middle East. But Saudi Arabia doesn't enjoy that strategic location so that it can mediate talks. Saudi Arabia is considered to be a very good ally of USA. That's all. And up beyond that, Saudi Arabia doesn't enjoy that kind of leverage that the Qatar enjoys. Though the economy of Saudi Arabia is larger and the Saudi Arabia territorially is actually bigger than Qatar, but Qatar enjoys this geopolitical leverage when it comes to the issues in the Middle East. Okay. Qatar, if we talk about Qatar, two things. One is they're very much close to Hamas and also some of the terrorist groups like Hezbollah of Iran. So this is a country in the year 2017, because of its very close relationship with the militant groups, some of the countries in the West and also the Middle East sanctioned Qatar. Okay, said that will not have any trade relationships with Qatar because they enjoy a very close proximity and a very close connection with the militant groups, and they are the one negotiating factor between Hamas and the US. Okay, so this is the reason why. This is the reason that Qatar forms a very important, or Qatar plays a very important role in the entire politics of Middle East. How did this happen? How did Qatar become so strategically located, and how did they start leveraging this autonomy? Is that in the year 1971 is when the Qatar became independent from the British rule. So till 1971, the British had the control over the Qataris territory. So in the year 1971, Qatar became independent, and following the independence, Qatar directly started following Saudi Arabia in its economic and also the foreign policies. So Qatar just followed Saudi Arabia after this. Okay, so whatever the Saudi Arabia's economic policies were, which were depending on crude oil and the natural gas, Qatar also started exploiting the same crude oil and the natural gas, and Qatar followed the economic policies of Saudi Arabia and also the geopolitical or the diplomacy of Saudi Arabia. Following this, Qatar went through a strategic and a great economic expansion. So in the early 1990s and late 1980s, I'm talking about, Qatar went through a huge economic boost or an economic power. So this economic boom in Qatar started after the discovery of oil and also the natural gas. So after this discovery and the economic boom, Qatar started evolving as one of the greatest sources or the largest sources of the natural gas. If you look at India and the Qatar relationship, the 50% of the India's imports from Qatar are just natural gas. Okay, and we all know that India depends for around 85% of our crude oil that we import. So if we use 100 liters of crude oil per day and we import 85 liters of the crude oil, and as of now we are moving more towards renewable energy and clean energy for that matter. Okay, so that is the reason why we have the evolution of the EV vehicles in the automobile sector. At the same time, we are moving towards sustainable development and also clean energy. When we compare crude oil with the natural gas is considered to be the cleaner source of energy than the crude oil. So all the countries, almost all the countries want to diversify their energy basket and they want to move more towards the cleaner energy. So this is the reason why Qatar becomes really important for the entire world, because they have one of the largest reserves of the natural gas, and they share a very close relationship with the Iran for a reason that under the Persian Gulf, the Qatar and Iran shares borders with this largest natural gas reserves. So if they don't have very close relationship with Iran, then mining or exploiting these reserves becomes really, really important. Okay, or becomes really, really difficult. So this is the reason why Qatar's natural gas reserves made Qatar one of an important country in the entire Middle East. So if we look at what is the reason for Qatar's proximity towards United States of America. Qatar supported USA in the Gulf War of 1991. So in the Gulf War of 1991, Qatar outrightly supported USA. And remember, Qatar got independence in the year 1971, and by 1991 it was 20 years since their independence, and they had diplomatic autonomy. And Qatari government can take the decisions that it wanted, so it supported USA in the year 1991 in the Gulf War. Following this, the largest United States military base was started in the capital city of Qatar, that is Doha. Even today, the USA's largest military base in the Middle East lies in Qatar. Okay, so this provides Doha with a deep sense of security in the region. Okay, and this is the reason why, and this is one of the reason why Qatar also shares a very close relationship with Iran. Okay, but the entire region of the Middle East, including Saudi Arabia, considers Iran to be a threat. But Qatar enjoys a very friendly relationship with Iran, and they also share one of the largest natural gas reserves along the Persian Gulf. So these are some of the events that happened between Qatar and the United States of America. So now, why is Qatar very important for India's diplomacy and the India's energy security? See, I've told you already, Qatar is India's largest source of natural gas. It is the largest source of natural gas. Okay, so any relationship or any disturbances in the relationship between USA Qatar, or Russia and Qatar, or Israel and Qatar, and if all the European countries, including the USA, that is the United States of America, if they decide to put sanctions on Qatar for a reason, then one of the most disadvantage for us. Why will it be a disadvantage for us? Is because it is one of the important source of our natural gas imports. Okay, so along with this, as India imports 85% of its crude oil, and India is leading the entire world in transitioning towards cleaner energy. So in this effort, we have come across something called as International Solar Alliance also. So we want to transition our economy from too much dependence on crude oil towards renewable energy sources. Okay, so in our transition towards cleaner energy, the natural gas that we import from Qatar plays a very, very crucial role. Okay, so by 2030, India wants to have around 15% of its energy dependence just on the natural gas. As of now, we can see it is 6% as of now, and we want to increase it to 15%. If you want to increase it to 15%, then the only thing that can help us is the good relationship between India and Qatar. Okay, taking this, India's exports to Qatar were very, very less, that is $1.97 billion in the financial year 2022 and 2023. So what did we export? See, agricultural export is one of our greatest strengths. So we exported cereals, we exported copper articles, iron and steel articles. So these are some of the things that India exports to Qatar. But when you compare the amount that we import from Qatar and what we export, we enjoy a lot of trade deficit with Qatar, or we can say the Qatar enjoys a lot of trade surplus with India. So having this strategically located country on our side, is very, very important for India's foreign policy. Okay, so that's it for today's video. So if you've liked the video, hit the like button and also press the bell icon to get all the latest updates from the Legacy IAS Academy. Have a nice day. Thank you.